Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Tours 101 information session with Rick Steves Europe. We're so grateful that you took time out of your evening to learn a bit more about our Rick Steves Europe tours and figure out if they might be the right fit for you. My name is Gabe Gunning, and I have the privilege of serving as your host this evening as we adventure through our tour program with two of our in-house tour guides and learn about what makes our tours unique. Now, I would like to give you a little itinerary for our evening together in this Tours 101 information session. We're going to start out by hearing just a bit about the history of Rick Steves Europe tours and how they started. We're then going to talk about who enjoys a Rick Steves Europe tour. We believe that our tours aren't the right fit for every traveler, and we want to make sure that they are going to resonate with you. We're then going to talk about the aspects that make our tours unique. After that, we're going to go through our different tour types so you can find which type of tour you might be interested in taking. Then our two guides this evening are each going to give a look at a day in the life on tour. And finally, we're going to finish with what next steps you could take towards becoming one of our tour members. And we'll finish with that Q&A session that I mentioned. Also, if by the end of tonight's presentation, you are feeling so jazzed about taking a Rick Steves Europe tour and you are ready to book, for the next 2 weeks, we do have a tour promotion code for the people that attended this session. So through September 3rd, you can use the promo WOW moment at checkout in order to get $100 off per seat on any 2025 or 2026 tour. Finally, for an additional discount, we do have a few tours on sale. You can find those on our website, and you can find the link in the chat widget. All right, before we welcome on our tour guides, we have one more person that wants to say hello to you all this evening. So for just a moment here, I'm going to turn things over to Rick.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves, and I'm so glad you're joining us for this Tours 101 information session. When I started my tours way back in the late 1970s, it was 8 tours in a van with me as the driver. It's incredible to me that 45 years later, we now take over 30,000 enthusiastic travelers to Europe each year. We're passionate about connecting curious travelers with great guides, employing really smart itineraries, and a passion for experiential travels, so those who join our tours can enjoy the trips of their lives, exploring destinations all across Europe on more than 40 different itineraries. However, it's clear to me that our tours are not for everyone. Sure, for many, it's a great experience. That's why about half of our travelers are return customers, and hundreds of people have taken 8 or 10 or more of our tours. But we're not for everyone, and I've got to say, for the wrong traveler, a Rick Steves tour can be a hellish vacation. It's a big decision for you, a huge responsibility for us, and it's in everybody's interest to be sure people know what they're signing up for. And that's why I'm excited about the purpose of this session. Simply put, it's to determine if a Rick Steves tour is right for you. In this Tours 101 session, you'll learn about what kind of traveler makes a great Rick Steves tour member, how our tours are designed, and which tour might be the best fit for you. Plus, we'll give you a detailed look at a day in the life on a Rick Steves tour. I hope this is a great and enjoyable information session for you. You're in great hands with our team that's running it, and we all hope to see you on the road soon on a Rick Steves Europe tour. Thanks so much, and happy travels.
Thank you to Rick for that warm welcome. And I would now like to extend a warm welcome to our 2 tour guides for this evening, both of whom pull double duty working as office staffers here at our Rick Steves Europe HQ in Edmonds, Washington, and guiding travelers like you around the roads of Europe as tour guides. Please join me in welcoming Lisa Friend and Andy Steves. Welcome, Andy. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, Gabe.
Thanks, Gabe. Hello, everyone.
Now, I know that the two of you are both gearing up for upcoming stints guiding in Europe within the next month. And I would like to know, where are each of you going to be guiding? And I know you've led these tours before, so which spot are you most itching to get back to?
Andy?
Shall I start?
Sure.
All right. Well, in just a couple weeks, I'm heading out to lead a Best of Europe in 3 weeks, where we start off in Amsterdam, drop all the way down to Rome, and finish in Paris. I'm really looking forward to the beach day on the Cinque Terre. I just can't get enough of that. I'm looking forward to that.
Ooh, and the pesto and the focaccia. Yeah.
Mhm.
I will be leading two 14-day Best of Europe, so I don't get to go to the Cinque Terre, but I will because after that I'm going to lead our 9-day Heart of Italy tour, and that goes to the Cinque Terre, and I love that itinerary as well as all of them.
All right. Well, I know that our virtual travelers this evening are in good hands with you, so I'm going to disappear behind the scenes. One last reminder, please leave your questions in the Q&A, and Andy and Lisa, I will see you at the end of the show with a bundle of questions in tow.
Thank you, Gabe.
Sounds good. Thanks for the lead out, Gabe. Okay, Lisa, I'm so happy to be here. And first off, cheers. Let's kick off this evening right.
Cheers.
I'm happy to be here with you to share a little bit about our tours. And of course, to everybody else tuning in, we're happy to be here with you and sharing a little bit about what makes our tours just so special and so unique. Let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for the introduction, Gabe. People may know Rick Steves from his TV show. We've had a long-running, decades-long run-in TV show on PBS, and we're actually just about to release season 13 this upcoming fall, where we're featuring destinations through Poland, from Istanbul out to Burgundy, and all the way out to Iceland. So it'll be quite a wide-ranging season that we're releasing, and also our first destination-specific content since COVID. So it's
Yeah.
a really exciting season that we're looking forward to. That's season 13 coming out this fall on our TV show. Others may know Rick from his radio show, and Rick invites many of his international friends from all over the world to have a fun, casual chat from everything from how to beat the crowds in Paris to, I don't know, sailing trips out here in the Pacific Northwest.
And solo women travel.
There you go. We just a wide range of content that Rick discusses on his radio show. Each of those radio shows are then converted into a podcast. So if you prefer to listen to radio on demand, definitely check out Rick Steves Europe in your favorite podcast app. Others may know Rick from his guidebook and his audio tours. We have something like 80 different titles in print under the Rick Steves Europe brand, with over 40 guidebooks specifically for Europe. So many people may know his TV show, radio show, books, and audio tours. I have a particularly different perspective on this guy. Yes, Rick is my daddy, and I got the blessing of getting a chance to grow up and travel with Rick every year of my life. So, as you might know, Lisa, our Rick goes to Europe 100 days a year, and of course that's a long time to be away from your family. Rick would go over to, or Dad would go over to research or check out new itineraries and so on. So my mom, my sister, and I would go visit him wherever he was in Europe to break up that long distance, that long time away from your family. One of my favorite memories is when Dad came to me and said, Andy, I need help researching all of the summer rodelbahns or all the luges across Bavaria. And that's still one of my fondest memories. That's what we're on here. I battled jet lag through the years and learned how to do my best to keep up with Dad and his long strides as he was researching, making TV shows, and so on. But that's not what all of you came to tune in for. You want to learn about our tours and the history of our company and how our history kind of feeds into the philosophy of our tour program that we run today. As my dad mentioned, he ran little mini bus tours back in the day, and that's him on top of this van there that you might be able to see. My dad got his start tour guiding, not by running his own tours first, but by working with other companies. And he really got an understanding for how the industry really works. Tour companies pack out buses because that's the real profit opportunity for tour companies to pack out buses. You got 55 seats, you get 55 tour members, you slam them all in there. You underpay your tour guide, who is then motivated to take you to tourist traps that pay commissions and kickbacks to the guide. And unfortunately, you're just taken from tourist trap to tourist trap and not really experiencing the best that Europe has to offer in terms of culture, in terms of experiences, and so on. So very early on, my dad broke out and he started leading these minibus tours, often populated by himself and 6 or 7 other women, as you can see, not because he only accepted ladies, but because it was women who recognized the value of group travel, appreciated the safety and efficiency of touring around with a group of new friends, and he soon got into his groove. He first only led the Best of Europe tour, and then that slowly broke into Germany, the Best of Germany, the Best of France, the Best of Italy, and so on. Today we have 44 active itineraries, if I understand correctly, they give or take a few. Our mission has always been to travel low to the ground. I found that the more you spend while you travel, the more you're paying to kind of insulate yourself from the culture you're there to visit and experience, right? Also, no, you don't need to go from Michelin star restaurant to fancy restaurant. You can find great value in picnics and really eat how the locals eat throughout your experience in Europe. So while we've upgraded a little bit, we did get our start in pretty, again, low to the ground budget accommodations and food and restaurants and so on. Back in the day, we even had the single travelers share a bunk at the mountain hostel there in Switzerland.
I remember that. I'm
Yeah.
old enough, Andy, that my first year guiding, I slept in the loft at Walter's.
There you go. There you go. I fondly remember Walter and of course the mountain hotel there as well. Over the years, we've grown from a dozen or so employees up to now we have 100 full-time employees here at the office in Edmonds and over 200 guides over in Europe. Our staffers work here in Edmonds to edit guidebooks, produce the TV shows, run the accounting, of course, customer service. Operations is its whole own thing. We have a whole office for just map development and so on. It's just grown so much over the years, and we've found that our tours have really found their following, and what's more exciting, or what's also very exciting, is our guides buy into our mission. Our European guides love connecting with Americans, Canadians, and anybody else who travels with us to share about their background, their history, and their culture themselves too. So it's just going from small minibus tours to now taking over 30,000 Americans through Europe each year is just something really, really special. We found that, again, these tours make many people really happy. These are life-changing experiences for 99%, but there's a few that might not identify so well with our travel style. So let's go ahead and get into who exactly enjoys a Rick Steves tour.
That was so well said. Who identifies as somebody who would be a good Rick Steves traveler? So I would like to identify my friend Sue. People like Sue here. She is curious, participatory, open-minded, and interested in all walks of life. She embraces our travel style, which is about getting a broader perspective through travel. And she's not there for a passive vacation. She's there for a travel adventure. So culturally curious and interested in history and art, those are important facets of a Rick Steves tour member, because that's what we focus on a lot of the time. If you're not the kind of person who would be interested in listening to my friend Tomas here talk about his grandfather in World War II, and talking about how this little wine growing village in Germany lives today, like if you're not interested in that, we would not be a great tour company for you. Physically, also, we do a lot of walking tours almost every other day. So I think that people who like to walk in cities and countryside, all shapes and sizes, but with good footwear. And we have a literal no grumps policy. I'm always a little nervous, maybe you are too. At my first night meeting, I'm like, hey, do you remember that you signed a no grumps clause? And if I see somebody who has confusion on their face, I think, oh, his wife signed his release and waiver for him, and he didn't know what he was getting into. But really, the people who take our tours are delightful people who are a joy to travel with. And our tour members enjoy a well thought out schedule with a good mix of guided tour time and free time. And I put these two daily schedules up just to point out a couple of things. So, a good tour guide on our, we say EFL, our family tour, London to Florence, a good tour guide will help you make smart use of your time. So, you have this note that I said free visit Tower of London, because the Tower of London comes with its own Beefeater tour, and we get you there first thing in the morning so you can see the crown jewels right away. But anyway, 105 meet to cruise to Westminster Pier. So I will always tell my tour members, because I'm a good tour guide, just in case you didn't know, I thought I'd let you know that. That if you guys are, want to maximize your time and you're there till the last minute, here's 2 or 3 places where you can get a great sandwich and you can eat it on the boat, because the boat cruise is like 45 minutes, and that's a great thing to do. Or if you've seen everything you want to see in the Tower of London, you want to have a nice leisurely lunch, there's a place there with good fish and chips. There's a place over there that would be good. Just meet me on the pier at 105 and we'll get going. So we spend a lot of time thinking about how we can maximize our tour members' adventures and time.
I also noticed there's some built-in free time as well. So you have really efficient group time and then also plenty of time to explore at your own pace. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the right-hand side, that's our Best of Europe in 14 Days tour from a few years ago. And you'll see 2:40 meet to take the metro to the Louvre. We use public transportation when we're in city, when it makes the most sense. And we're going to skip the line with our reservations. And then you're going to self-guide using Rick's Audio Europe app. And that works really, really well. And the other thing that we like to do, which we were talking about earlier, is a lot of times now in Europe, because of crowd control, they limit the amount of people that can be in any one group. So across the board, you're often going to be split into 2 groups. So even if our tour group size is 24 to 28 people, we're going to slice it in half, and you're going to be on a tour with 12 to 14 people. So that's something that's important for us. And you don't need to be an extrovert to enjoy our tours, although Rick says extroverts have more fun, but you need to sort of say yes to life. So here's my friend Pat on our Portugal tour, and she is saying yes to trying barnacles in Nazaré. And then on the other slide, you have some friends of mine on a Heart of Italy group meal. And group meals, we include about half the dinners on the tour. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But you have to want to sit with people about half the time and enjoy talking over your day and what you're sharing. So that's an important social component of our tours, and it's a really fun component. And Gabe is going to show us some actual chat with tour alumni with Heather and Michelle, and they're going to talk to you about what life is like on a Rick Steves tour from their perspective. And they were not paid for this for this interview. Hello, I have the pleasure to introduce to you and interview this evening my former tour members and now good friends. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Heather. I'm Michelle.
And they are 9-time alums. So we came to them to get the skinny for you tonight on the Tours 101 information session. Okay. Well, I was going to ask you who your favorite guide was, but it better be me because I know where you live.
I mean, shall we just say besides you, or?
Sure. Or, if you don't want to be indiscreet, if you just want to say, what were some of the qualities of the guide that you enjoyed the most?
A great question. Well, basically, all the guides are super friendly, super informative, but also at the same time, they're laid back. But as much as they're laid back, they keep us on schedule so that we don't miss an admission time or a breakfast or a dinner, or what have you, whatever we're doing that day. And they're just super nice.
And I think that, we've been on enough tours so that I can recognize that the tour guides have been fantastic, and there have been some that I've connected with more, kind of their style and their personality. So I'm happy to say that one of my favorite folks that we've traveled with is Alfio. We did a Sicily tour with Alfio. And one of the things, this happens on every tour, but he evidently put a lot of thought into what happened on the bus in terms of learning opportunities, in terms of the lectures that he gave.
How would you describe the Rick Steves Europe style of travel to someone who's never been on one of our tours?
You should go.
I've talked about him a lot, and what I say is that there's a lot of opportunity built in for you to do what you're interested in. So, you know, one of the things that I so much appreciate about it, we'll probably talk about this later, is the transportation piece being taken care of, so you don't have to kind of worry about the headache of that. And then what I'll say to folks is, like, you do something together as a group in the morning, but maybe by 11:30 or 1, you're free, and then you can go do whatever you want. And some people want to take a nap, and some people want to walk around the battlements, and some people, like me, want to go see 6 art museums. So that's the thing that I say. It's like it is an organized tour, but there's still a lot of flexibility within it to focus on your style or your pace or your interests.
Yep.
What would you like to tell first-time tour members, or what would you like them to know? And then the other thing is, what was your biggest apprehension before your first Rick Steves tour?
I think just to go back briefly, and we can just chat about this. And I think they should read. They should read. Don't take the approach that they're just gonna get on a bus and be carted off to a beautiful place, because you're going to go to the beautiful place, but you need to know what you want to see and what you want to do in that place. And it sometimes astonishes me how sometimes folks won't know where we're going tomorrow. And if that's their travel style, that is great. It isn't mine. But yeah, that would be the thing. Read or listen. Yeah.
But that said, the tour guides give you information. Like, if you showed up on a tour without any preparation,
you'll be fine.
Yes, and the tour guides provide really clear communication about what's happening that day and the next day, and some options about how to spend your time. So it sort of feels like tour guides come in with the expectation that folks are not necessarily going to know what they want to do that day, and they work to provide good options. So that's fantastic.
They seem like some pretty cool tour members, Lisa.
They are some very cool tour members.
They seem like a lot of fun. And they're absolutely right. Our tours help people with different travel styles make the most of their time and their vacation over in Europe, wouldn't you say? So if you're a go-getter and you want to pack in a number of museums and sites, by all means do that. And I've also had other tour members on my trips that prefer to just be passive. And while they don't see quite as much, for them it works. So it works, huh?
I always think about my mom. She would have been a great tour member. She would have done what the program was, and the minute it was over, she'd be like, we should go and find a place with a beautiful view and have a glass of wine and enjoy that and ruminate on what we've seen this morning. So
I'd say so. And speaking of guides, that's one of the elements that really makes a big difference in our tours. And that's what I'd love to talk a little bit about right now. With our trips, we understand that a guide makes all the difference. I'm sure we've all sat through or slept through, our stale high school art history classes, right? Where a teacher, bless her or his heart, but a teacher just recites names, dates, and essentially puts you to sleep, right? We recruit our guides in as many different ways as we can find them. Every guide brings their own unique style, and then we try to not indoctrinate, but teach them
a little bit, indoctrinate a little bit.
Teach them the Rick Steves style, our mission, and our passion. And what I'm getting at is these guides break out of just reciting dates and names to you when they're communicating history. Rather, they're bringing the history to life and sharing the personal story, the human story behind what makes the Night Watch so famous there in the Rijksmuseum, or why is the Mona Lisa such a big deal at the Louvre in Paris. And that's what, again, really makes these tours different. When we find a new guide, we vet them, of course, we interview them. Once they're accepted, we invite our next new class of guides on to a training tour and to go along with Rick to learn the Rick Steves way. And I had a chance to go on this tour back in just after COVID. It was like 2022. And it was so cool to meet a Portuguese guide next to a Sicilian guide next to a Polish guide and have us all come together, share our tips, and kind of cross-pollinate in that way. And what I'd love to do now is, again, Gabe, would you please cue up this video? We're going to talk with a local friend of ours, David Tordi, who lives just north of Rome and who's a wonderful guide, and I always enjoy seeing him every year when I can.
Ciao, hello, my name is David Tordi. I'm a Rick Steves tour guide, and welcome to Orvieto, my hometown, which is one of the most beautiful hill towns of Italy. One of the beautiful things of walking the streets of Orvieto is you feel like lost in a labyrinth, in a maze, but you're not really lost. It's full of so many hidden corners, hidden gems, not only the highlights, the Duomo and St. Patrick's Well, but many places like this one, this beautiful side alley where it's only residential, there's no shops, nothing, just homes, incredible architecture and history. It's a town that breathes history. Rick Steves and I share the same travel philosophy and lifestyle philosophy. What we really try to do is to broaden people's perspective on a new culture. We get together with the locals, we get to meet them, we often go to their homes, to their working places. They share their life, their culture, their traditions with us, and a few hour experience is something magical, unique, an experience that we will never forget. Now we are inside a private residency, a medieval courtyard with an incredible colonnade. The colonnade is made of ancient Roman columns coming from original Roman villas from the outskirts of Orvieto. And the unique feature is that each column is different from the other because they all belong to different villas. One of the things that I really love about tours with Rick Steves is the bonding that happens from the very first day, and the fact that people tend to become really close friends and have a great time in the future, even after the tour is over. Here we are in the oldest part of my hometown, Orvieto, the ancient medieval quarter, where we can actually see with our own eyes a layer cake of civilizations built on top of civilizations, since the Etruscan times all the way to modern times. Showing somebody Orvieto for the first time, for me, it's an emotion every time, because people come visit where I was born and raised. It's beautiful to see people's reaction in their faces, how they open up to a new culture. I love introducing my local people to my new tour members. Everyone doesn't know what to expect, and there's an incredible form of respect and appreciation of each other. And that's just part of the magic of guiding a tour.
Oh, I miss David. He's in a band and a lot of fun to catch when he is a great vocalist, and he has some guitar playing friends, and just so cool to get a chance to see him both in his professional setting and after the sun goes down, see him bust out his musical talents. All right. We'll continue on. As I was mentioning, whether it's David up in Italy or Francesca here in the ancient Roman Forum, all of our guides are passionate about bringing these experiences to life in front of us. It's hard to visualize what the ancient Roman Forum would have looked like in the shadow of the Colosseum, but she brings a picture book. She has drawn tears from tour members, if you can imagine, by the way she communicates these historical lessons. Whether we're out in the open air or in museums, our local guides share a bit about these amazing things that we're taking in. Yes, you can go to Europe. Yes, you can just walk around these sites, take pictures for your Instagram, and then go home and tell your friends you had a great trip. Yes, that is travel, but we try to reach a different, deeper kind of travel that also involves the human touch, and I think that's what many people notice about our tours. What's a great thing to notice as well is that throughout the season, we're asking our tour members what they thought of our trips. We're taking those evaluations, and we're integrating that feedback from our tour members and our guides every year to continually improve and evolve our tour offerings, our inclusions, our itineraries, and so on. And you'll see that on a year-by-year basis, we make little tweaks, little improvements. And I think that in these 40 years that we've been running tours, they've really come a long ways. So, and it's these personal connections all across Europe that are what, for me, are really unforgettable. So, Those are our local guides, and our guides take us to unique experiences all throughout our itineraries. And I'd like to pass it off back to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Yes, to use Rick Steves' oft-quoted word, evocative. So we're going to talk about evocative experiences because it's not just all walking tours and museums. We're also doing these really fun, hands-on experiences that let us dive deep into the culture. So here's one of our guides, Maria Jose. She's on the cork farm, and we go on our Portugal tour. We visit this cork farm, so she's showing us exactly how thick the cork has to be to make a wine stopper. And then this is a family-run cork farm, and so the gentleman on the right is actually a member of the family, and they like us so much that they built a custom wagon that their tractor hauls all 28 of us around the cork farm, and then they take us to lunch. And they actually have such a big family that they often will put one family member at each table of 8 so
Yeah,
that they can, it's so charming. And
I
I
gotta
think
sign up for that tour.
half of our tour members were in love with him, but it was just a super cool experience. And we go and meet Amit in Venice, who teaches us about the history of Carnival and the Venetian playwright Carlo Goldoni, talking about Commedia dell'arte, which also is like blah, 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 until he actually tells you what's going on, and he makes the gentleman on the tour be his model, so they all have to practice these personas that they're doing, the lawyer from Bologna and the plague doctor. And so it is so much fun, and it is so hands-on, and he teaches us how to make the masks from papier-mâché as well. We also see alabaster carving in Volterra, which has a tradition of hundreds of years of alabaster production. And we go on an optional Venetian gondola ride. We do this on several of our tours. But one of the things that I think is really cool is it's not a tourist trap, like you mentioned earlier. We are seeing Venice from the actual angle that it was meant to be seen from, gliding down a canal in a human-powered boat. And my tour members like it so much. I don't give them the hard sell. I'm like, this is how much it's going to cost. I'm not making any money, but I'm going to do this for you. I arrange musicians, so we have a rendezvous on the Grand Canal. And some of them actually come off the boat and hug me because it was such a special experience. Are you laughing at me? Did they
No,
hug
no,
you
no.
after gondola ride?
Reminiscing about the similar experiences, but
they-
I haven't got a hug after a gondola.
Okay, obviously I didn't train you well enough, but I'm a great hugger, so it's good. We also do pierogi making on our Best of Poland. And like Andy mentioned earlier, really what you see and smell and taste can stay with you forever. So we want to talk about what kind of food we eat on a tour. And Andy, that's your section.
That's true. A visit to Europe isn't just art and architecture and walk-in tours. I think one of the best way to experience new cultures is through your taste buds. And so that is also a key element of our tours, our experiences around Europe. We enjoy participating in cooking classes, for example. In Venice, Florence, Rome, we go to a cooking class in Florence, for example, where we make our own pasta with chicken and a tasty, delicious dessert. What's it called? The panna cotta, right?
Oh yeah, the
Panna cotta.
mhm.
It's just delicious. And we're paying attention to what is in season. So here in the States, you can have a pineapple February, July, or November. It doesn't matter, right? Or bananas and so on. But in Italy, and the rest of Europe, they really eat by the season. So our guides and our itineraries pay attention to when different crops are in season, and we really design our diet and our experience around that. Another thing is when you're traveling, you're eager to try these new and different foods, but it really helps having a local friend who says, yes, try the pig ears, or yes, try the calamari. It's super fresh. Yes, try the jalapenos. Not all of them are spicy. Just one on the plate is kind of like Russian roulette, but with jalapenos, your pimentos de padrón. All of these culinary experiences are another way to remember your wonderful time around Europe. Don't forget gelato either.
Never.
And really important, whether you travel with us or on your own, remember that not all gelato is made equally. And it's really important that you gotta pay attention to make sure and find a good gelateria and not just a touristy trap ones, okay? So I think those are tips that we're gonna have to save while we're on tour to share. But remember that you gotta pick the right gelato spots and not just the touristy places. So, we've been talking a lot about food, about experiences, about walking tours, about guides, and so on. But at the end of the day, you really need a comfortable place to kick off your shoes and relax, right? So, Lisa, tell us about our hotels.
Yeah, and what's important to us, and I'd be happy to. What's important to us on a Rick Steves tour is the hotel is clean, comfortable, and centrally located. And I'm going to dive into that a little bit more. So the hotels are generally small, unique European properties. This hotel is on our Ireland tour, and actually Robert Mitchum, the actor, rented this house out when he was in Dingle filming. And I have slept in his bedroom, and I'm super excited about that. So that could happen to you on a Rick Steves tour. We also want you to know that they're not cookie cutter. They reflect where you are. Here's a cave hotel on our Best of Turkey tour. You can actually see the chisel marks in the ceiling. This is one of the larger rooms I've ever been in on a Rick Steves tour, but we were in the countryside of Turkey. It was lovely. And we want family-run friendly accommodations. So small is nice and staffed by people who care, who really believe that hospitality is something that they want to share with people. And centrally located. I am not joking. I don't know if you guys can see this on your screen, but it says Vatican Museum with an arrow. This is the Hotel Museum in Rome where we sleep on some of our tours, and the Vatican Museum is literally in the picture. And so I love this hotel because it works so nicely for our tour members. It also has this great rooftop terrace, which I use to plot my free time. And when we say centrally located on Paris in the Heart of France tour, we're sleeping on the island of Mont Saint-Michel. So it takes a bit to go there. We got to go across the causeway in our bus, and then we have to hike up to the hotel. But when all of the day trippers, and 95% of all of the people who come to this island are day trippers, when they all leave, we're there. We have the island practically to ourselves. We can scamper around the ramparts. It's really an amazing, magical place. So I wanted to show you just a few pictures of actual rooms. So this is chic and stylish, but snug. This is another hotel from our tours, and it's hard to compare hotel rooms across the tours because of how different they are. Even rooms within the same hotel can be different designs, views, etc. But they're all good enough to give you a comfortable night's rest. And we do have lots of different people on our tours. Not all of them are a romantic couple in a double bed. This is my friend Andy and his dad in a hotel that he and I have stayed in many, many times over the years in the Cinque Terre. And this is what a room would look like for a twin room for two people who are not a romantic couple. When I started with the company in 1999, we told people that half of the hotel rooms had bathrooms down the hall. That's long gone, except for 2 nights on a Scandinavia tour, or maybe the family tour. All of the rooms have private bathrooms now, but they are small and snug and compact.
Cozy.
Cozy. And they often come with these funny little toilets that have spigots that they're always asking me how to use. But I did want to point out that there's not a lot of counter space. So you can see in the picture with the red toiletry kit that we have designed toiletry kits that hang up because of that. And so that's something that whether you buy it from us or not, that's something you're going to want to know about when you go to Europe. Now, since the rooms are not all the same, guides make sure to keep note over who has balconies, who doesn't, who has the top floor, to even things out. That's an important part of our program. And we tell our tour members you can bring a carry-on size bag. And that's because we don't care if you check it on the airplane or not, we'll never know, but a carry-on size bag because we want you to be able to cheerfully and comfortably carry your bag upstairs to your room, because only about 40% of the tour hotels have elevators. And you can see the picture of this elevator. This is in Konya on our Best of Turkey tour. That is a 1-person, 1-bag size elevator. And so I, as a tour guide, am going to check everybody in. Everybody's going to get their keys. We're all going to be in the lobby. And then you have the choice as the tour member. Do you want to wait 20 minutes for that elevator till you get your turn? Or do you want to just pick your carry-on size bag up and carry it up a couple flights of stairs? It's not worth your precious free time to stand there and wait for that elevator. Now, the effort to get to the top floor pays off. I can just imagine myself here in Vieste on the Southern Italy tour. But let's also hear from some people who've been there and slept there. So Gabe, will you show us the tour hotel video, please?
You know, I've stayed in some of the best hotels in the country, in the United States. And you walk in and you say, oh, this is nice. I've stayed in a lot of these hotels on the tour, and when you look back a few years later, I can't remember the five-star hotels, which was which, but I remember these hotels because of the charm.
The hotels on this tour were great, always well kept, fabulous staff, always clean. Some were, a little more modern, but then we'd stay in some local ones that had a lot of character.
They've been very unique. They haven't been same old same. You don't feel like you're stuck in an American hotel. You definitely feel like you're in a local hotel and with a very European flavor.
They've all been smaller hotels, which I like. It's not the cookie cutter, American hotels transplanted to Europe. They've all felt very, very authentic to the regions and to the areas.
One thing is always the same, and that's that they're in some way unique.
They're going to be a little bit different than what people would experience in the U.S. Sometimes they're going to have stairs, sometimes they're going to have really small elevators.
I like that they're not super commercialized. They're really kind of intimate, so the staff is really friendly.
They give you a feeling of a private home, which is very, very nice.
The employees, they are working in the same hotel for many years. It's a bit like a family.
For the most part, they're always going to be central. We really place an emphasis on that, being well located, close to different sites, but also close to public transportation.
They are located in the heart of the area that you want to be in. Just like with real estate, location is the most important thing for a hotel, particularly when you're in a town for 2 days. You need to be where the action is and where you can get to the major sites conveniently and easily.
Aren't those just wonderful hotels?
They were. You and I were going down memory lane looking at some of those hotels.
And a lot of the people in these videos too, One question that often comes up is tour members sometimes have medication that you need to refrigerate. Do these hotels have refrigerators that we can use to leave medication in overnight?
That's a good question. So I would say it's not the cultural norm in most places in Europe to have little mini fridges, but I'd say we probably have them in about half of the hotels. But either way, breakfast is always included. So the hotel always has a refrigerator that you could use to store your medication, even if it isn't in your room. It would not be a problem.
Gotcha.
And the buses have refrigerators too.
That's right. But don't forget your meds on the bus and bother the bus driver to go and get that at 10 p.m. at the end of the day.
Okay, from experience, I think.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for sharing that, Lisa. Let's continue on. We're going to talk about smart travel. And this was a section that I invented or came up with for this presentation to try to speak to just the facts. Of course, we've been hearing in the news a lot about over-tourism. And yes, it is a problem in many places across Europe and around the world. But cities like Barcelona and Venice feel like they're getting inundated by tourists. And you layer a lot of people on with some of the hotter temperatures that we've ever seen, and travel in Europe can become fairly uncomfortable. So smart travel is more important than ever. And what we do every year is design our itineraries in a way that helps you experience the sites that you gotta see, but avoid the crowds and the heat as much as possible. So we book first entries or last entries into these world-class sites that you gotta see. So the Uffizi, for example, in Florence, or the Accademia Museum in Venice. If you go at 11 a.m. or 3 p.m., sure, they're going to be packed and they're going to be hot. But if you go first thing or very late in the afternoon, you can have an intimate experience with your local guide and not deal with that kind of headache that encounters, or that many of the other people traveling through these cities have to deal with and encounter. As Lisa mentioned, we often break our groups into 2 smaller groups as well. So instead of walking through the museum with 28, you're walking through with 14 plus your professional licensed guide. That way you can ask more questions and be a little more up close and personal with these pieces of art that you're there to see.
You ready? Okay, well, I'm going to talk about how active our tours are. So these are active tours. Even sometimes the walking tours are not just in cities on pavement, but they can be out in fields or over stones. Here's one of our local guides off the coast of Ireland. So they're not adventure tours, but you need to be reasonably fit. And here's the fine print. We're serious when we say call us, because we're here from 9 to 5, Monday through Saturday, and we pride ourselves on having a well-traveled staff. You're not going to get a call center or artificial intelligence, and the people that you speak with, this is important, are not on commission. They're going to tell you the honest to God truth because we want you to be happy on our tours. We have real boots on the ground sightseeing, not just driving by on a bus. We're going up and down those stairs. This is Trummelback Falls in Switzerland, which we can visit on several of our tours. And we do, as I said, limit you to a carry-on size bag. So this is my daughter, Nora, and she is packing like a champ. She has a carry-on size bag on her back, and she has a day bag, and that's all she's taking. And it doesn't have to be a backpack. I take a rolling bag. Do you roll or take a backpack?
I like the rolling bag. That way it takes the weight off of my shoulders and people can hear me on the cobblestones when I'm coming through.
Very smart. Because one of the reasons why we have you carry your own bags is because of the stairs in the hotel, but also our buses cannot always get right in front of the hotel. So you might have to carry your luggage for up to 15 minutes. So for example, here is my wonderful tour group that I had last year, and we are actually taking a tram into the historic core of Florence. But on our family tour, we take the Eurostar under the English Channel to Paris. On our Barcelona and Madrid tour and our Best of Spain tour, I believe we take the high-speed train from Barcelona to Madrid to save time. We take the slow little train in the Cinque Terre for 5 minutes. So you're going to be using a lot of different modes of transportation, even boats going into Venice, right? So you need to pack light and be able to carry your own bags. And if you need help, I have done a packing travel skills video. So you can see that on YouTube and our website. And it's real life experience because I travel out of a carry-on size bag for 40 days at a time. Here's what I take.
Impressive. Smart travelers pack light, smart travelers pack light. And don't forget, you're probably gonna shop while you're over there. So like leave some room for a leather jacket from Florence or leave some room for some new fashion from Paris, right?
Okay.
Just saying.
But how are we getting around from place to place? Home sweet home, bus sweet bus.
That's right. That's right. One of the unsung heroes of our tours are these wonderful bus drivers, oftentimes Belgian or Dutch. Those are the ones. Heide Bloom is our partner company who runs our Best of Europe tours. And then we have local partners in Spain and Italy and so on. But I gotta spend some time talking about our bus drivers and our buses because that's really our home away from home in a lot of ways. Our bus drivers, this is Peter here. He's been driving for years, and I've been with him many times on the Best of Europe in 21 days. I'm always blown away with how professional they are, how well they drive, and how they can orient that huge bus through these medieval cobblestoned lanes through these cities that we're visiting. Before long, you'll notice that these buses turn into homes away from home. I utilize this bus time to speak about historical talks, cultural lessons, set you up with good etiquette, for example, coming into a formal culture like France, for example. I make the most of the time that we have on the bus to help set you up for success in our next place that we're going to be visiting. I mentioned shopping as well. Each of these buses has some deep storage. So we are up top, of course, during the day. We leave our bags with the bus driver who puts those bags underneath the bus throughout the day when we're traveling. If you do shop, if you do pick up a cuckoo clock or a beer stein, for example, and you don't need that until the end of the trip, you can store that in the underside, the underbelly of the bus. Up top, the seats are very comfortable. There's air conditioning. Again, we have about 28 people on each of our tours, 55 seats on the bus. That means you can really spread out and make yourself comfortable. These buses also have chargers for your phone or charging ports. Most of them do not have Wi-Fi. We get that question a lot, and I just want to address that. The bus don't usually have Wi-Fi, but it does usually have a charging port for your phone and a restroom for emergency use. Each 2 hours during our travel days, we'll take a rest stop. So every 2 hours, we'll stop at either a highway rest stop or sprinkle the trip with other much more interesting rest stops. Curious about an interesting rest stop that comes to mind, rather than the roadside ones. For example, Zugspitze, for example, looking back at the highest peak in Germany, or do any others come to mind?
No, you just super put me on the spot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, what's better than an auto grill rest stop with free toilets and all that candy I can buy?
There you go. Well, the point, for example, coming from Germany down to Bavaria, Austria, for example, throughout the day, we'll stop at Dachau concentration camp. Not the funnest stop, but it breaks up the trip and important history. Then a rest stop at I make a detour for a beer garden at a monk brewery. We go to Andex Brewery. And then our next rest stop is Wiesekirche, the church in the meadow. So these aren't just rest stops, but we'll stop at interesting places along the way. So, anyways, buses are going to be your home away from home, and bus drivers are part of the family by the end of the tour.
Speaking of family, I like to say that our tour members become like family, and I'm going to probably say that twice. But I wanted to point out these two specific groups because people ask, what kind of people are on these tours? And so this was a group that I had last year, and they're super, super nice people. But we had, a couple, we had a family of 3 with their adult daughter. We had a mother-daughter. We had 2 mother-daughters. We had a friend group. We had a couple of solo travelers. So all different kinds of people. And you can see we had people in their 20s to people in their 60s and maybe 70s. So I would say, honestly, most of the people on a lot of our tours are going to be in that 50s, 60s range. But it varies by itinerary. Obviously, some of the shorter tours have younger people because younger people have shorter vacations. And our tour members are punctual people. They appreciate well-organized travel. Everybody has agreed to be fun and flexible, and I love getting to know them. And honestly, I learn more from them than they learn from me sometimes because they're always so interesting. And at my first night meeting, I say, look around. These are all strangers now, but by the end of this 2 or 3 weeks, we're all going to be like a family. So we figured out who's going to be on the tour, but what tour are we going on?
That is a very good question. And if you look at all of our itineraries superimposed onto a map of Europe, it looks like one big plate of spaghetti. I understand it might be confusing. It could be overwhelming. So let's take a second and kind of break these down a little bit. Our tours, pardon the marketing lingo here, but our tours break into a few different categories: the best ofs, the heart ofs, the city tours, and our My Way adventures. We'll start off with our best ofs. Best of Europe, for example, or best of Central Europe. These are your top level, your smorgasbord experiences. So this is the itinerary that I lead. Usually, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm leading this tour. And as I mentioned, we start in Amsterdam, go all the way down to Rome, and then we loop back up to Paris. And you can consider this more of a sampler platter. 2 days in any one of these destinations is not enough, but it gives you a sense for the places that you might want to come back to, visit, and explore more. If it's your first time going to these places, this is a great itinerary to start with. It'll give you kind of your elevator pitch experience. Best of Central Europe, for example, laces a lot of destinations that were behind the Iron Curtain 30 years ago. And shoot, I got to work on my math. 35 years ago. Or more. There you go.
You're not.
But you can see the evolution that these cities have taken, the changes that these cities have undergone, and what a exciting and popular time to be visiting them. Those are our best of tours. Heart of tours are more regionally focused. So our Heart of Italy, for example, starts in Rome. So your big urban city experience then makes our way to a hill town called Volterra. You go out to the Italian Riviera, the Cinque Terre, which we've mentioned, a favorite of both of ours, of course. And then we finish in Florence, a medium-sized city. So you have kind of your wide ranging experience of Italy in a short 10 or 12 days there. Loire and the south of France is another kind of alternative that, again, takes you away from the hustle and bustle of the big cities and gives you a chance to enjoy some Pinot Noir, maybe some fromage, maybe some escargot, and so on. So those are our heart of or more regional focus tours. Our city tours are definitely more urban. We have 4 week-long city tours. That's London, Paris, Istanbul, and Rome. Those are where you get to unpack once and stay in the same hotel room all week. What a luxury.
Ask me how many times I've taken the Best of London tour as a tour member.
Lisa, how many times have you taken the Best of London tour?
3.
What? Get out of
3.
town.
That
Really?
city, I love it so much.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a great tour. I love a city tour.
It's true though, but any one of these cities easily justifies a whole week there, right? And London, you can spend weeks, months there and still discover, it's like turning a rock over at the beach. You never know what's going to be underneath and there to discover, right? So we visit these world-class cities like London, like Rome, and we can also link together other cities like Prague and Budapest. I know there's a Venice, Florence, Rome itinerary as well. So if you enjoy the city tours, definitely take a look at those. Perhaps a My Way adventure is for you as well. The My Way tours set you up with your bus and your hotel, but leave the rest up to you. So each My Way adventure has a tour manager that sits at the breakfast table in the morning, 8 to 10 a.m. or so, and you consider him or her your travel advisor. You come to them with your questions, they tell you what to do, and then you create your own adventure at your own pace. So this works, it's a one-size-fits-all kind of approach where there's many people who just prefer to lay by the pool, for example, which is totally cool. And then there's others who want to pack in 3 museums in a day and a food tour that evening. And this foundation of an experience sets you up for success. It sets you up for being able to design your itinerary the way you want.
Can I add something about the My Way?
Please do. Yeah.
It's great for people maybe who've already been there and they want to dig deeper, so they don't need to go to those A-list sites again, but they want to, like I said, dive deeper. It's also great for multi-generational people. Maybe some of the parents can't go like we do on a regular tour, but they still want to travel with their adult children. So there's a couple things that are really nice about the My Way tours.
That's a really good point. In the My Way tours that I've led, I expected average age range to be a little lower, but in fact it was higher because people wanted to just take it easy. On our fully guided tours, we stay on our feet for hours and hours. These My Way tours go to many of the same destinations, but you can take it easy or go all out. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Thanks, Lisa.
My pleasure.
And if you have some young ones in the family, definitely check out our family-friendly tours. So we do Family Europe, London to Paris. And I gotta tell you, on these itineraries, when you're visiting these new cities and experiencing this outdoor classroom, it's so rewarding and so much more engaging to be able to experience Barcelona or Florence or London or Paris with new friends. And I got to tell you, these young ones make those connections and they stay in touch for years and years after, right?
Yes, and I think you would be the one who would be able to say, look, somebody instilled a love of Europe in me at a young age, and look where that led me in my life.
Yeah, well, with Rick, it was kind of get your buns on the bus. So in this case, I think these family-friendly tours would be a nice. But yes, that's a valid point. Absolutely. We've been talking about where to go, but when you go is just as important. So maybe Lisa, you can speak to that.
Yeah, so a frequent question that we get is when to go, but truly there is no one size fits all best time to go. You're trying to find a balance between the best weather and fewest crowds. So it's smarter to really determine where you want to go or what you want to see and start planning from there. Your travel dreams are the anchor points for your trip. So if you've always wanted to see the tulips in the Netherlands, you're going to want to plan on visiting in April and maybe pack a little bit of rain gear. If you want to see the lavender blooming in Provence, you're going to need to plan in the summer, and you're going to need to learn to drink rosé. Santé. Or if you've always wanted to drink a beer at Oktoberfest in Munich, you can choose from a handful of our itineraries, and you'll be going in late September. And please consider the off season. October is one of my favorite months for traveling. It's a great time for the harvest and harvest festivals. And wintertime tours equal just the need for appropriate clothing and no crowd. So here I am on the London City tour again. That's my daughter Nora, and we're there in February, and she's standing in front of Buckingham Palace with very few people around, and that was literally in the Louvre a few nights before, because we went to Paris for a few days before we went on the London tour. And the tool that I want you guys to take away is all of our tour itinerary pages have a when to go and weather tab, so you can make informed decisions.
I got to add, if you're going to be going to Europe in November, January, February, or so on, bring wool socks. Wool socks make a world of difference. I'm gonna definitely promote wool socks for sure. And if it's gonna be cold, long underwear. Just a light layer that goes under your jeans and your shirt or whatever. That'll keep you warm and much more comfortable.
That's true, because you are spending a lot of time outdoors, especially if you're going to some of the Christmas markets that might be going on in November and December.
Wet and cold feet are no fun.
So we're going to talk about a day in the life on the tour, and my day is the day in Bacharach on the 21-day Best of Europe tour. So you can see that day 4 is one of our active tours. So we have strenuous walking, and then we have an activity level for the entire overarching tour. But day 4 is an active day. We're going to start with our daily schedule, which I mentioned at the beginning. So all of the tours have these daily schedules posted by the hotel. All of the tours have breakfast included, right? And the breakfast usually starts somewhere between 7 and 7:30 in the morning. And the first group activities are between 8, 8:30, and 9, depending upon your itinerary. And so we're going to start our day with a walking tour from our smack dab in the middle of our little village town on Bacharach, and we're going to meet Birgit, and she's going to walk us around. And I want to point out in this photo that we're wearing audio systems. So even though Bacharach is a pretty quiet town, we will use these most of the time. And so they're wearing this. And this is so people like Joseph, my photographer, can be standing away and still hear Birgit's commentary. And we're going to hike up into the vineyards for the great views, but also to really understand what it takes to grow grapes in these steep valleys. And then after our walking tour, we're going to head on the bus for 15 minutes to the town of Sanguar, and that's where we're going to spend our afternoon. And on every tour page, we include how many meals are included. Like I said, all breakfasts are included and about half of your dinners. But when it makes sense, we also include a few lunches. And so we know very well that when our tour members get to Germany, they want sausage. So even though sausage isn't a true specialty of this region, we found a fantastic restaurant that will make us sausage with potatoes and Schupfnudeln, which are these little pale colored things. They're like dumplings. They're handmade. And I love sharing them with my tour members because we always get a picture of hot gravy. And the peas and carrots look like something we would get at a cafeteria. They're so delicious because they're fresh. I thought, oh, this is when we introduced this idea of this meal. I'm like, and then I had it and I was like, oh man, get me to the Montagues right away and let's have this.
For sure.
It does, because we did hiking already in the morning. And then we're going to go up to Rheinfels Castle, the mightiest ruined castle on the Rhine. And we walk up there, and there I am. You can see how far below the river is and how cheerful I look because I have made it up that 20-minute cardio hill without passing out. So I'm so excited to be there with my tour members. And we go through the energy, cannot be flagging yet because we're going to scamper around the castle through these old mine tunnels. And into the dry moat, we're going to talk about the history of the castle. And then we're going to go into the largest vaulted cellar in Germany. And one of the guides is named Alvin, and he brings in his guitar and he sings and he demonstrates how fantastic the acoustics are inside the cellar. And then we leisurely make our way downhill to our friend Heike, and she's going to get us some boat tickets, and we're going to take a boat back to Bachrach. And this is where Andy's talking about smart travel, because if you're coming downstream with the current, it's a 45-minute boat ride. If you're going upstream like we are, it's an hour and 15 minutes, which means that we get to spend more time looking at the castles.
Say enough for 2 beers.
Enough for 2 beers.
People ask me, how long is that cruise, Andy? Enough for 2 beers. Yeah. That's my response.
So this is my favorite castle on the Rhine. It's literally in the Rhine, Default's castle. But this cruise will send photographers into a frenzy. For those of you who know our company a little bit, well, there's our friend Cameron Hewitt taking photos while he was doing guidebook research while we were there. And they're just left and right everywhere you see more castles. And then we end up back in Bachrach, where we have a free evening and you can search for the best schnitzel in town. Your guide will have some opinions for sure. And we will say good night on our very busy and exciting day in the wine growing village of Bachrach.
Oof, that's quite a day, Lisa.
It's a heck of a day.
Oh my gosh. I'm excited though. I'm going to be doing exactly that day in just a few weeks. So I'll have to let you know and enjoy some of that
Shoop noodling.
Shoop noodling. That's a new word for me. I just called that dumplings or something. But anyway, so Lisa just broke down what we would call a strenuous day on our itinerary. And the beautiful thing about these trips are that we offer busy days and we sprinkle in low-key, easygoing, chill days as well. So I'd like to take you to, on the same itinerary, but later on in the tour, a free day up in the Alps. If you can imagine, this is the view from the breakfast room. We have a delicious fresh breakfast, and we crack the windows open and look out at the Eiger, the Monk, and the Jungfrau. I call, or I email actually a couple weeks in advance to reserve one of the first gondolas up to the Schilthorn. You might recognize the Schilthorn from the 007 In Her Majesty's Secret Service movie. And we go up there, spend plenty of time, enough time to enjoy a coffee in the rotating restaurant, or enough time to spend quite a while in the 007 exhibit in the basement, or just take in the world-class views, looking around at this just a cathedral of alpine peaks all around us. Just beautiful. Careful though, drink a lot of water and use sunscreen because we're at high altitude and that sun is strong for sure. So that's our morning. We go up there, it's an option, we offer it, and we enjoy the group discount as well with so many people coming along. Then we descend back to our town of Mürren, where I give our group about an hour to run to the grocery store and have a nice picnic lunch. Don't forget the Swiss chocolate because it's practically illegal to go on a hike without a chocolate bar in your bag.
It is illegal.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
good. Good. I do not break the rules. I'm a rule follower in that case. And after our picnic lunch, we go on a nice horizontal stroll. We're not going up or down mountains. We're going on a wonderful gravel path that connects Mürren to Grutschalp, a small train station down the way. And some of the only beings that we see along the way are these alpine cows. Along this path actually is a Honesty dairy shop as well. So there's a dairy operation that produces both milk and cheese and yogurt and even chocolates. So it's really nice to be able to enjoy the scenery, take in the fresh air, say hi to the cows, moo, and also stop at the shop just in case you're hungry for a snack. And in Mürren, there's a community center with a community pool, a weight room, an outdoor hot tub. So it just makes for a wonderful cap to the day, and a sauna and steam room as well. So I make a point to be sure and pop into that. With any luck, there's an alpenhornist bidding adieu to the sun as the sun sets, and I get to enjoy a little pint there with my Spatzli. and enjoy the alpenglow of the peaks all around. So that's just an example of a low-key day that you might experience on one of our itineraries.
So all of that was optional.
All of that is optional. You can participate, or you could totally just go on your own chill day where you just relax, or you could go on an intense hike way beyond what we could ever imagine. So that way, it's the best of all worlds. You can really make the most of your time and your vacation over here. So let's say that Lisa and I have just absolutely knocked your socks off. And all of you online here are just saying, where do I sign up? Well, the easy answer to that is ricksteves.com. We're going to be getting into some of the details here. There's frequently asked questions that we're going to be trying to address here in a little bit. Also, be sure to drop your questions into the chat as well, and we'll speak to that momentarily. When you book a tour, you have to put a deposit down and you have a window of refundability. Once 30 days passes, that deposit is no longer refundable, but we could transfer that credit to another tour if you decide to change. Oftentimes our tours do sell out, so if you encounter a graphic that says sign up for the wait list, drop your email on there and you'll be notified if there are any openings on tour. And I'd like to take you through what our website looks like here. So this is a little screen grab, a little screen recording that I'm going to narrate as we go.
And thank you for doing that, because I don't know how to do that, so I'm very impressed.
Hey, I'll show you tomorrow if you want. So all you need to know and do is at ricksteves.com. On this website, it's just an incredible database of information, tips. There's an online forum there as well where you can find all sorts of free information. Tonight, we're talking about our tours. So you're going to go to our tours. Our tours are outlined by year, so we're still selling 2025 tours. There's still a few seats left, but we're starting to focus more and more on 2026. Our itineraries also break down by country or region and by category. So you can scroll all the way down and find city tours, family tours, or our My Way tours. A great tool that you should definitely use as well is the search function next to the browse function there. So you can find a tour by destination, or you can look at tour types. Perhaps that your most limiting factor is your vacation days. So you can look by length of tour, or you can look by budget and kind of set a cap of price point if that's what's most important to you. For this example, we're going to be looking by date. Okay, so go ahead and click search all tours and put it in order of begin date. And in this example, let's say that we're free after Labor Day, for example. So I'm going to be looking for a trip sometime after September 5th or 6th or so. Perhaps that you have, your vacation days and your time, but you want to go on a Rick Steves tour, but you're open to whatever destination that works best for the time and budget. So in this case, let's end up in the best of England. You follow that link and you'll find our marketing language and kind of breakdown and description of the 14-day itinerary there. You'll see a visual breakdown of the itinerary and a graphic for the activity level. As you scroll down, you can check out our dates and prices, exactly what's included. We're very transparent about all the different things that we include on a Rick Steves tour. You'll find that our price point, sure, might be a touch higher, but all of these experiences are offered included and not offered as an option that you'll pay additionally for throughout the rest of the tour, that many other tour operators kind of work in that business model. Once you're really interested in a tour, you might want to click into itinerary and see the day-by-day breakdown. That's in itinerary. And you don't have to take our word for it. Of course, myself and Lisa will always say great things about these tours, but look at these authentic and real reviews left by real tour members, and not just 5-star reviews. We include all of our reviews so that in that way you can get a real full picture of what our experience is actually like on tour. You can also find all sorts of information towards the bottom. As Lisa was talking about, you'll also find when to go and weather, broken down by average inches of rain, for example, and days of sun and temperature and so on. So those are all aspects that we do our best to give you the full picture of what you can expect on a Rick Steves tour. When you go into dates, you can go in and see exactly when the tour dates are. You can go in and click book, and then you'd begin your tour process, tour booking process. When you begin this process, go ahead and sign up for a tour account, and then you can log back in to check your progress and see all sorts of information in there. Lisa's going to talk about that in a second. But when you're ready to book, that's how you start. You click into your date, click sign up, and you can take it from there. Once you've booked a tour, then you have what is called an online tour account. And that's where you can log into and see all the information that you really need to know as you prepare for your tour.
Yes, thank you, Andy. And Andy was so smart and did that wonderful screen recording. And like I said, I do not know how to do that. So I'm just going to show you a couple of screenshots. This is after you've signed up for your tour, paid your deposit, and signed your release and waiver. And then you'll see your online tour account. So you see the active tours that my friend Emily has, Heart of Portugal, which is starting like tomorrow. And then she has a Paris and the Heart of France tour next year. What we want you to know is where to find the really important information. So Andy and I care so much about making sure that you guys have the right information, that we went to our sales team and said, what are the questions that you're getting from the tour members? And one of them was, we want them to know more about their online tour account. So we added this in just earlier today. And so here's the tour planning, pre-tour planning with all kinds of information. You'll get your first hotel and your last hotel, but then it's also where you can order your tour kit. So something that we did new for 2026 is about 37 days after you've signed up for the tour, once your deposit is non-refundable, we give you the opportunity to order your tour kit. So you'll get the appropriate Rick Steves guidebook, which we as guides will use on the bus for orientation and information. And then you'll get a security device. So a Chivita money belt that goes around your waist next to your underpants, or a neck wallet, or a hidden pocket, which I've never used because you have to wear a belt every day, and I much prefer elastic pants. But people who have seen my packing class will know that I wear my money belt like it's a religion, and I've never been pickpocketed in 20 plus years of doing this. So that's your online tour account and what we want you to know. And now we want our friend Gabe to come back and tell you even more interesting things.
Thank you so much, Andy and Lisa, for that excellent presentation. I had a wonderful time, and we are going to get right to our Q&A. But first, I just want to remind people once more, we do have a discount code for people that attended this session. It is Wow Moment, because we always ask our tour members in the post-tour survey what their wow moment of the tour was, and that is valid for the next 2 weeks through September 3rd. Andy and Lisa, you stirred up a lot of wonderful questions and curiosities in our travelers, and I'm going to ask you some questions now. Lisa, I'm going to give the first question to you. Somebody, actually, one of our social media followers, wrote in a question asking, what would be somebody's experience as a solo traveler on one of our tours? Is it really all families and couples? What can solo travelers expect?
I would say that we have solo travelers on pretty much all of our tours, but out of the 28 people, it's probably going to be somewhere around 4 or 5 people who are traveling, not part of a couple. I process the tour member evaluations when I'm not on the road, so I read hundreds of evaluations, and of all of the ones I've read this year, I've seen one who said, well, the people weren't as friendly as I would like. So 99% of the time, people are sweet on our tours. They're going to go up to somebody and say, hey, we're going to dinner. Do you want to come with us? Or the tour guide knows just what to do to help bond the group. And that makes everybody feel included, whether they're solo travelers or not. So I would say in general, very positive experience. I will also say, in the interest of total honesty, most of the solo travelers are women. We do get some solo male travelers, but it's of those 4 or 5 solo travelers on a trip, I'm going to say 4 of them are women, 1 is a man. And that's just, I don't know, men are not as smart about going on travel with Rick Steves.
Hey, on my Best of Bulgaria tour last year, I was one of 4 solo male travelers. So maybe you just have to go to Bulgaria.
Maybe so.
Andy, my next question is for you. Kevin was wondering, do tour members have the same, if they're doing a multi-country tour, like our Germany, Austria, Switzerland, or the 21-day tour, do they have the same lead guide the entire time, or do they get kind of passed off between guides as they go between countries?
Great, thanks for the question. So every one of our itineraries has a full-time guide or tour manager, you can think of it that way, that sees you from start to finish. And then in each of our stops along the way, we'll almost always connect with a local licensed guide who's licensed for that particular town or museum. And so you get the best of both worlds in that me as an American, I can help my tour members deal with any sort of culture shock or anticipate any sort of hiccups along the way. But we also get to hear amazing local experiences from people like Tomas, for example, in Bacharach, or Francesca in Rome, Carlo in Florence, and so on. Elizabeth in Paris, the list goes on. So you have a tour manager that leads the itinerary overall, but we also get to connect with locals along the way.
Thank you very much. Lisa, next question comes from Suzanne, and I will ask you. Suzanne was wondering maybe if at the end of a city walking tour, will the guide ever maybe just leave you at the last stop and expect you to get back to the hotel on your own? How do you both empower travelers to be able to navigate a city on their own, but also maybe help them if they don't feel completely comfortable?
Did you plant that question, Gabe? That's
a real question from Suzanne.
Well, thank you, Suzanne.
All these are real questions. I've been writing them down.
So one of the things that we do as guides is we're going to teach you how to navigate these cities on your own using public transportation. We're also really good at orienting people. I don't know about Andy, but my landmark orientation pun game is spot on.
Nice.
My tour members know that when they come around that corner and they see Rue theirs, it's not theirs, it's ours, and they need to turn left to go home. He knows exactly what corner I'm talking about in Bone. So we're going to teach you how to do that. I mean, I've had people who are just like, Lisa, I just can't. And I'm like, I can help get you into a cab, or if I'm going back to the hotel, I will take you with me. We don't leave anybody in the lurch, but we do empower people to navigate on their own because we want them to make the most of their free time.
And I'll say, as just somebody who's only ever been a tour member, I always appreciate that almost every time we arrive at a new destination, there's the option to do an orientation walk to at least the few blocks around the hotel to get you situated, which I always find really helpful.
Your Rick Steves guide is always going to know where's the nearest cash machine, grocery store, pharmacy, laundromat.
And kebab stand.
And kebab stand.
Andy, the next question is for you. It comes from Carrie. Carrie was wondering, can the guides help people plan their free time? So both in terms of maybe if somebody doesn't really know what to do for their free time, giving you ideas, but also maybe if somebody knows, ooh, I really want to see this site, would you be able to give them advice for how best to get to that site and execute your visit?
Sure. So where to start? As we come into a new city on the bus, I'm talking on the microphone about all the different options that tour members have in front of them. I'll often come through the bus and circle maps and make suggestions for, yes, tomorrow morning, we're up bright and early with a local guide seeing the key site, but you're free by lunchtime. So I'd suggest zipping over on the metro or the bus to X, Y, and Z. So that way, yes, your tour managers, your tour guides we're here to set you up for success for your own personal sightseeing as well.
And another question for you, Lisa, from Deborah. I think we mentioned this during the show, but just reiterating, what is the maximum number of people on a Rick Steves Europe tour?
24 to 28, depending upon the itinerary.
And another question kind of building off of that, that I would like both of your opinions on. As we talked about our no grump policy, and we have people sign that. And in my experiences, my fellow tour members have always been lovely. But on the occasion that you do get a grump on the tour bus, how do you two as guides handle that to make sure that rare grump doesn't derail a wonderful chipper tour member's experience?
That is a great question, Gabe. I mean, we do some diplomacy training when we do our continuing education. Really, I'll go first, and I want you to add on to this, but really it's getting to the root of the problem of what is making that person so unhappy. I mean, and what you can do to figure that out. Are they not feeling well? Are they just overwhelmed? Like, what's really going on with them? You might have to take them aside and have a sit down and just try and dig into that. But if they're just like truly miserable people, then you have to say, why are you here? And that's a longer conversation sometimes. But what do you?
Well, we start at the beginning with during the booking process, you'll be reading exactly what we mean by that. And Rick has always talked about being militantly optimistic, enjoying cultural differences. Don't come to Europe only comparing to your Big Macs and your large bathrooms and your comfortable air conditioning, for example. We do our best in every aspect of our branding and on our website and in our books to communicate what our travel philosophy is all about. So what we're seeing, it's 9 times out of 10, if that ever happens, it's because it's a family member or a friend who is dragged along by somebody who was doing the signing up for the tour. So if you're the person signing somebody else up, please do take a moment to review the expectations for tours. Again, about packing light, about staying on your feet for hours at a time, about the fact that you might have to walk up some steps. And then, really that has spiked or anticipated a lot of potential issues that I've had in the past.
And the reason we're fumbling around a little bit with this question is it honestly doesn't happen very often. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I mean, I've never had to kick anybody off a tour for being a grump. I came close once. The office had to call somebody, but mostly just getting to the root of what's making them so unhappy and seeing what you can do to help, and just saying, what is it that you thought was going to be different? So, but again, we get some diplomacy training. We're really good.
Thank you both very much. As I said, it's never been an issue on any tours I've been a tour member of. Lisa and Andy, I'm wondering, can I have permission to answer a question?
Is it about vegetarians on tour?
It is. We had Heather asking, Heather asked if she's a vegetarian. Would that mean that she's not a Rick Steves Europe style traveler? And I said, absolutely not. I'm also a vegetarian. I've been on tours with people who are vegan, gluten-free, have specific food allergies, and that is something that we accommodate. Of course, we want people to be culturally curious. So, hopefully within your dietary restrictions, you are willing to try new things. But if you do have dietary restrictions, you will include that in your sign-up process through your tour portal. The guide will be aware of it, and they will make sure that your dietary restriction is accommodated at the restaurants that we eat at. The one request that our guides understandably make, though, is if you're a vegetarian on day 1 of the tour, you're a vegetarian for all days of the tour. Sometimes there are people that say they're lactose intolerant, but then they see that fondue in Switzerland and they're like, maybe I'll risk it. So we ask that people stay consistent. But in my experience as a vegetarian, I always say 80% of the time I'm getting a meal that is as delicious and culturally interesting as my omnivore fellow travelers. 20% of the time I have to accept that maybe I'm going to get a big salad or a plate of sauteed mushrooms, but I won't go hungry and I'll be taken care of.
I will just add that what we're used to dealing with as guides are things like vegetarians, vegans, gluten-free. What we're not really prepared to deal with are like low sodium or low carb or something that you might order on an airplane. Like our restaurants are not used to dealing with that kind of stuff. So vegetarian, you're fine. Vegan, you're fine. Celiac, you're fine. We can deal with all of that. But, if you're allergic to shrimp, we will make sure that you don't get any shrimp. But I think I saw low carb once and I'm like, I can't. I hate that. Sorry.
Well, Lisa and Andy, we have arrived at our final question of the evening. I really loved this one. There was one person that is excited about the prospect of travel, and they just said, how can people overcome fear while traveling? Whether it's fear of safety, am I going to get pickpocketed, or fear of just culture shock, being somewhere where I don't know how things work, or I've never been on a tour before. What are the tour dynamics going to be? You don't have to address each of those specifically, but what would be kind of your final words of inspiration for anybody that has some fears or reservations about taking the leap to travel?
Well, in the wise words of, was it JFK? FDR. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Get out there and enjoy those uncomfortable experiences and understand that you'll be growing and becoming a more worldly aware citizen of this planet. And yes, you might have uncomfortable experiences on the road, but I think at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And you'll be going home with a better understanding of the world that we live in. And I think that's what's at the end of the day is priceless and so important, especially this day and age.
And I will just say, just maybe as a woman traveling by myself when I'm not with my group, I feel miles safer when I'm in Europe traveling around by myself than when I'm in the US. I'm not worried about taking public transportation. I wear my money belt like it's a religion. So I've never been pickpocketed. I have a wristband on my phone, so it's attached to my body. Other than that, I feel like I have no points of vulnerability, and I go and I do it, and I'm safe and I'm happy. And that's one of the things you're going on a tour for, is also an extra layer of security, that you have somebody who knows what's going on, who knows how things work, and they're there to help you.
Well, thank you so much, Andy and Lisa. I'm glad that you are two of our great guides that are there for our travelers. I would love to be on a tour bus with you someday, but in the meantime, being on this virtual tour bus with you has been good in the meantime until it can be in person.
You're welcome anytime, Gabe. Please.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you at home for taking time to join us. We hope that you learned a lot. And of course, if you have any other questions, please send them to Rick, R-I-C-K, @ricksteves.com. And we hope to see you on the road in Europe very soon.
Happy travels.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.